The storm is finally here, and episode 6 of Blood of My Blood is about to change everything we thought we knew. The betrayals will cut deeper, the romances will grow even more dangerous, and the fate of entire families will rest on decisions made in the heat of passion and jealousy. If you thought Ellen and Brian's love story was dramatic before, wait until you see the fallout that's coming next. Because the secret they've been hiding? It won't just break hearts, it might just destroy lives. Episode 5 left us breathless with Ellen and Brian finally stepping into a dangerous territory that can never be undone. Their bond, undeniable and fiery, has already shattered the lives of those around them. Malcolm, once appearing as the strong and rightful suitor, has been left humiliated and betrayed, and the scars of that betrayal will drive the story forward in episode 6. The whispers are growing louder that Malcolm, rather than being the noble man some hoped he would be, is being molded into something much darker. And now, the pieces are falling into place for his true nature to emerge. In the upcoming episode, we will see Malcolm's jealousy spiral into obsession. The man who once stood tall as a proud fiancé will begin to crumble under the weight of his insecurities. He cannot bear the thought of Ellen slipping from his grasp, and instead of winning her with love, he will try to hold her with force. The trailers and early whispers suggest that his possessiveness will become suffocating, and Ellen will be left feeling like a prisoner rather than a bride-to-be. Her growing frustration will not only put her on a collision course with Malcolm but will also push her closer to Brian in ways that no vow or promise can undo. And then comes the twist that changes everything: Ellen's pregnancy. The timing is impossible to ignore. Every fan knows that the child she carries is destined to become Jamie Fraser, a legendary figure in the Outlander universe. But for Ellen, here and now, it is nothing but a storm of dread and defiance. How long can she keep the truth from Malcolm? And even more dangerously, how will Malcolm react when he realizes the child is not his? The seeds of tragedy are already being sown, and in episode 6, we will see those seeds begin to sprout in the most heart-wrenching way. Meanwhile, Brian himself is caught in a torment of loyalty and love. His bond with Ellen is undeniable, but it has come at the cost of trust within his own family. Murdo, his cousin and once closest ally, now sees nothing but betrayal when he looks at Brian. Their brotherhood has been fractured, their trust destroyed, and their future uncertain. Episode 6 promises to place these two men on opposite sides of a brutal confrontation, and for the first time, Brian will be forced to face not just Malcolm's wrath, but Murdo's as well. This betrayal has cut deeper than any sword could, and no matter the outcome, neither man will ever be the same again. And yet, while Ellen, Brian, Malcolm, and Murdo are locked in this fiery web of romance and betrayal, the story does not stop there. Jocasta, one of the most captivating and loyal women in this saga, will find her own heart tested. Her genuine affection for Murdo, her hope for a connection that could stand the test of time, will be cruelly twisted into a tool of manipulation. Murdo, unable to let go of Ellen, will use Jocasta not as a partner but as a pawn, seeking her out only for news of Ellen rather than for love. The pain Jocasta will endure in episode 6 is one of the most devastating storylines yet, a reminder that in this world, love is too often weaponized, and loyalty is punished rather than rewarded. But perhaps the most shocking undercurrent in episode 6 will not be in Ellen's romance or Murdo's bitterness, but in the political game simmering just beneath the surface. Julia, whose fate has long seemed tied to Henry, will take a path no one could have predicted. The fortune-teller's prophecy, once dismissed as mysticism, is beginning to shape destinies in terrifyingly real ways. The suggestion that her unborn child could be the one to unite Scotland is enough to set Lord Lovat's mind ablaze with ambition. And Julia, aware of her position but unwilling to surrender, will make a choice that could shatter Henry's heart forever. Her impending marriage to Lord Lovat will not only mark a betrayal of Henry but will ignite a new power struggle that could echo across generations. The threads of fate are tightening, the characters are being pushed to their breaking points, and episode 6 promises to be the moment where secrets turn into scars. Nothing will be the same after this chapter. Love will turn to obsession, loyalty to betrayal, and joy to heartbreak. And as Ellen stands tall, ready to defy Malcolm, the question becomes, how much pain will she endure before she can claim her freedom? The story of Blood of My Blood has always thrived on its ability to balance passion with betrayal, and in episode 6, that balance tips dangerously toward chaos. The fragile line between love and destruction begins to blur, and every decision taken by our main characters will carry devastating consequences. What makes this episode so powerful is that nothing feels safe anymore, not relationships, not family bonds, not even loyalty to one's own heart. Let's begin with Malcolm, because his descent into obsession is one of the most chilling arcs we're about to witness. Up until now, Malcolm has been portrayed as the respectable fiancé, wronged, yes, but still respectable. That image is about to shatter completely. The man who once claimed to love Ellen will reveal that his love has never been pure affection, it has always been about control. And when control slips from his hands, he reacts not with grace but with fury. Episode 6 teases his transformation into something much darker, a man consumed by jealousy, driven by rage, and blinded by his desire to dominate Ellen. He will try to cage her, both metaphorically and literally, and in doing so, he will set himself up as the true villain of this season. But here is where the story twists even further. Ellen is no longer the timid bride-to-be we first met. She has been transformed by her love for Brian. She has tasted passion, freedom, and the fire of a man who sees her as an equal rather than a possession. That kind of awakening cannot be undone. In episode 6, Ellen will finally begin to push back against Malcolm's suffocating grip. She will stand her ground in ways that will shock not only Malcolm but everyone around them. And with her pregnancy looming over every interaction, Ellen will have no choice but to reveal a truth that will send shockwaves through both families. Malcolm is not the father of her child. Imagine the fury, the humiliation, the absolute devastation that Malcolm will feel at that moment. For a man already drowning in insecurities, this revelation will push him over the edge. And this is where his darker nature will truly come alive. We will begin to see shades of cruelty, manipulation, and even threats, the kind of behavior that cements his role as a villain, a man who would rather destroy Ellen than let her go. At the same time, Brian will find himself caught in a storm he cannot easily navigate. His love for Ellen is genuine, but his betrayal of Murdo has left wounds too deep to heal overnight. Episode 6 will showcase a brutal clash between these two men, not just physically, though a fight is inevitable, but emotionally as well. Murdo's heartbreak, his sense of betrayal by the cousin he trusted most, will pour out in a confrontation that is as painful as it is inevitable. For Murdo, Brian has taken everything: Ellen's affection, his trust, even his dignity. And in return, Murdo has nothing but bitterness and rage. But here's the tragic truth: Murdo's obsession with Ellen is not love, no matter how much he convinces himself otherwise. Episode 6 will expose his feelings for what they truly are, a desperate attempt to possess what he cannot have. His treatment of Jocasta will serve as proof. Instead of cherishing her loyalty and her affection, he will exploit it, using her as a tool to get closer to Ellen. Jocasta's heartbreak in this episode will be one of the most difficult storylines to watch. She represents everything pure and genuine in this story, and yet she will be treated as nothing more than a means to an end by the very man she loves. The pain of watching her realize this truth will resonate deeply with fans, reminding us once again that in this world, devotion often leads only to despair. Meanwhile, the political threads of the story are weaving tighter than ever. Julia's impending marriage to Lord Lovat is perhaps the most shocking twist yet. This union, born not of love but of necessity and ambition, will set the stage for a heartbreaking betrayal of Henry. Imagine his shock when he arrives at the wedding, only to see Julia standing beside Lord Lovat, ready to exchange vows. The man who once believed in their love will be left crushed, his heart shattered in a way that will change him forever. For Julia, this decision is not one made lightly. She knows the weight of prophecy, she knows the danger of scandal, and she knows the power that comes with securing legitimacy for her child. But in choosing Lord Lovat, she sacrifices not just her own happiness but Henry's as well. It is the kind of sacrifice that leaves scars no time can heal. And yet, As devastating as these personal betrayals are, episode 6 carries with it the promise of something larger, the shaping of legends. Ellen's defiance, Brian's loyalty, Malcolm's villainy, Murdo's bitterness, Jocasta's heartbreak, and Julia's sacrifice, all of these threads are converging into a tapestry that will define the legacy of the Fraser family. Each choice, each betrayal, each moment of courage will echo far beyond this single episode, laying the foundation for the stories we already know and love in the wider Outlander universe. So as the storm builds, one question looms above them all: when the truth comes crashing down, who will rise from the ashes, and who will be consumed by the fire? Episode 6 promises to give us that answer, but it won't come without heartbreak, without betrayal, and without the kind of unforgettable drama that makes Blood of My Blood one of the most gripping shows on television today. If episode 5 was about passion being unleashed, then episode 6 is about the consequences, and these consequences strike like lightning, fast and destructive, leaving nothing untouched. Every relationship we've followed so far is pushed to its breaking point, and the cracks that have been forming will now split wide open. What makes this part of the story so powerful is that it's not just about love anymore. It's about power, survival, and the terrifying choices people make when their hearts and pride are at war. The biggest shockwave comes from Ellen herself. For so long, she has been caught in the crossfire of men's desires, Malcolm demanding her obedience, Murdo longing for her affection, Brian quietly fighting for her freedom. But episode 6 will finally show Ellen stepping into her own power. The revelation of her pregnancy forces her to confront a terrifying reality. She can no longer pretend, no longer play along, no longer hide behind half-truths. The child she carries is Brian's, and no lie or cover story will protect her forever. When Ellen admits this truth, she not only breaks Malcolm's pride but also risks everything: her safety, her family's reputation, and her future. This confession is the turning point. From here on, Ellen is no longer a pawn in anyone's game. She is a woman fighting for her own destiny, even if it means standing alone. The courage it takes to make that choice is staggering, and yet, it comes with unbearable costs. Malcolm, enraged and humiliated, will not let her go easily. The whispers suggest he will retaliate in ways that are both cruel and manipulative. We're about to see him evolve into the full villain of the season, and his actions will prove that his so-called love for Ellen was never about love at all. It was about control, about pride, about ownership. Now that Ellen has slipped from his grasp, his desperation will push him into dangerous territory, setting the stage for even more shocking confrontations in the episodes to come. And then there is Brian. His love for Ellen is passionate, but it is also dangerous. With Ellen's confession out in the open, Brian can no longer avoid the consequences of their affair. Episode 6 will test him in ways he has never been tested before. He must defend Ellen, protect her from Malcolm's rage, and at the same time, confront Murdo's betrayal and heartbreak. It is one thing to fight for love, but it is another to face the fury of both your enemy and your cousin at once. Brian's loyalty to Ellen will be unshakable, but his path forward will be littered with sacrifices. The question is, how much is he willing to risk for a love that could destroy everything he holds dear? Murdo's role in this episode is equally heartbreaking. Once seen as the loyal cousin and devoted friend, he now becomes a shadow of his former self, consumed by jealousy and bitterness. His obsession with Ellen blinds him to the truth staring him in the face as Jocasta's love, genuine and unwavering, could be his salvation. But instead of embracing her, he uses her. In episode 6, this becomes painfully clear. Murdo will turn to Jocasta not out of affection but out of strategy, manipulating her to get closer to Ellen. For Jocasta, the realization will be soul-crushing. She has given her heart openly, only to be treated as a pawn in a game she never asked to play. Watching her heartbreak unfold will be one of the most emotional moments of the episode. Fans who admire Jocasta's strength and loyalty will find it almost unbearable to see her spirit broken by Murdo's selfishness. But Jocasta's pain will not be the only heartbreak we witness. Henry's storyline is about to take a devastating turn. For so long, he has believed in Julia's affection, trusted in the bond they shared, and dreamed of a future together. But in episode 6, those dreams will shatter. Julia's decision to align herself with Lord Lovat will be revealed in the most brutal way possible, at her own wedding. Henry, drawn by the hope of their love, will arrive only to find the woman he adores standing beside another man. The shock, the betrayal, the sheer devastation of that moment will change Henry forever. And yet, Julia's choice, though cruel on the surface, is born from desperation. The prophecy, the fear of scandal, the pressure of survival, all of these forces push her into Lord Lovat's arms. It is not love that drives her, but survival. And that makes the heartbreak even more tragic, because it means Julia and Henry are victims of circumstance as much as they are of betrayal. The beauty of Blood of My Blood lies in how these personal tragedies intertwine with the larger destiny of the Fraser family. Ellen's defiance is not just about her own freedom, it is the first step in shaping the future of Jamie Fraser, a child whose very existence will change history. Julia's sacrifice is not just about protecting her name, it is about ensuring her child's legitimacy, a choice that will echo across generations. And Brian's loyalty is not just about romance, it is about building a foundation of love strong enough to endure the storms of betrayal and heartbreak. What makes episode 6 so unforgettable is that it doesn't shy away from the pain. It doesn't soften the blows or protect the characters from the consequences of their choices. Instead, it forces them to confront the darkest sides of themselves and each other. And as viewers, we are left not just entertained, but shaken, pulled into a world where love and betrayal are two sides of the same coin, and where every choice carries the weight of destiny. So when the credits roll on episode 6, one thing will be clear, nothing will ever be the same again. Malcolm will have embraced his villainy, Ellen will have stepped into her power, Brian will be torn between loyalty and sacrifice, Murdo will be consumed by obsession, Jocasta will be left broken, and Henry will be devastated. The fallout from these moments will not only define this season but will ripple through the entire Fraser legacy. And as fans, we are left asking ourselves the hardest question of all, in a world so full of betrayal and heartbreak, can love truly survive? As the storm of episode 6 reaches its peak, the story of Blood of My Blood transforms from scandal and heartbreak into something much larger, survival. Every character is standing at a crossroads, and the choices they make now will not just determine their futures, they will define the destiny of generations to come. Episode 6 is not simply an installment in a romance, it is the ignition of a legacy, and the fire it sparks will burn for years. The episode's final act centers around Ellen. For so long, she has been the woman trapped, pulled in every direction by men who claim to love her but refuse to set her free. But now, with her pregnancy revealed and her loyalty to Brian unshakable, Ellen finally claims her power. She will no longer bend to Malcolm's will. She will no longer allow Murdo's obsession to define her worth. And most importantly, she will no longer live in the shadows of half-truths. This moment is where Ellen truly becomes the matriarch of the Fraser story we know and love. Her defiance is more than rebellion, it is survival. But survival, as we know in this world, never comes without sacrifice. Malcolm's response is as chilling as it is inevitable. Stripped of dignity, betrayed before his peers, and humiliated by the truth of Ellen's child, he becomes something monstrous. No longer the scorned fiancé, Malcolm emerges as the true villain of the season. His jealousy transforms into cruelty, his pride into rage. And his determination to keep Ellen by force sets the stage for some of the most terrifying scenes in the entire series so far. The whispers are clear. Malcolm will not only attempt to cage Ellen but will also seek revenge on Brian, determined to crush the man who stole his bride. This is no longer about love, it is about possession, about pride, about the destruction of anyone who dares stand in his way. Brian, meanwhile, is left with no choice but to fight, not just for Ellen, but for the future of their child. Episode 6 will showcase Brian at his most vulnerable and his most heroic. The physical confrontations with both Murdo and Malcolm are just the surface. Beneath them lies a deeper conflict, the guilt of betraying his cousin, the fear of failing Ellen, and the overwhelming pressure of carrying the Fraser name into a future already burdened with prophecy. His love for Ellen is undeniable, but love alone may not be enough to withstand the storm coming his way. Murdo's downfall continues to unravel in heartbreaking fashion. His obsession with Ellen has blinded him completely, and his betrayal of Jocasta is a wound that will not heal easily. Jocasta, the woman who gave him her heart, will realize that she has been nothing but a stepping stone for a man too lost in his delusions to see her worth. This realization will break her, but it will also begin to forge her into someone stronger. In many ways, Jocasta's pain becomes her turning point, a transformation that fans will no doubt follow closely as the series unfolds. And then, there is Julia. Her marriage to Lord Lovat is one of the most shocking twists the series has given us so far. What makes it even more powerful is the tragic timing. Henry, filled with hope, arrives only to find the woman he loves pledging herself to another man. That moment, his heartbreak, his devastation, will be etched into the memory of every fan. Julia's decision may secure her child's legitimacy, but it destroys Henry's spirit. It is a choice that highlights the cruel reality of this world. Love is often sacrificed at the altar of survival. And while Julia may believe she is protecting her future, she is also creating enemies in the present, enemies who will not forget her betrayal. But perhaps the most haunting part of episode 6 comes not from Ellen, Brian, Malcolm, Murdo, Jocasta, or Julia, but from the shadow looming over them all, destiny. The fortune teller's words, the hints of prophecy, the whispers of a child who will unite Scotland, these threads are beginning to weave into something larger, something beyond the control of any single character. We, as viewers, know that this child will grow into Jamie Fraser, a man whose legacy will define nations. But for the characters themselves, this knowledge is nothing but rumor and fear. And fear, as we've seen time and again, drives people to commit the most dangerous acts. The episode will end not with resolution, but with a cliffhanger that promises devastation in episode 7. Ellen, standing firm in her defiance, faces Malcolm's wrath. Brian, bloodied and broken from his battles, refuses to back down. Murdo, consumed by jealousy, spirals into betrayal. Jocasta, heart-shattered, begins to harden into someone new. Julia, trapped in her choice, seals her fate with Lord Lovat. And Henry, crushed by betrayal, stands on the edge of despair. Each thread of this story pulls tighter, wrapping the characters in a web of destiny that none of them can escape. So as the credits roll, one question echoes louder than all the rest: who will survive the fire, and who will be consumed by it? Episode 6 does not give us the answer, it only leaves us with the haunting certainty that the worst is yet to come. And for fans of Blood of My Blood, that is exactly what makes it unforgettable.